Hello, this is Business Life. Welcome. Coming up in our headlines, Ghana yet to make progress with the G20 Common Framework debt treatment with its bilateral creditors. Ahead, we will hear from a finance lecturer who will react to the World Bank Africa Pulse report. Also coming up in this bulletin, market activities bouncing back on the local bears as companies list bonds on the secondary market. We'll hear from the Managing Director of the Ghana Stock Exchange, Abnamwa.
We are optimistic that companies will take advantage of this opportunity and support investors that are looking for diversified products to invest in.
Plus, Bank of Ghana classifies all charges not disclosed to borrowers in loan agreement as null and void as it pushes lenders to refund all the charges or risk sanctions.
I am a victim of that situation, and sometimes some of the bankers and financial institutions will tell you that the loan is granted on commitment, no commitment fee.
We have details of these and many others coming your way shortly. Please stay. Grateful you could stay on. I am Pious Kojo Backah. On to our very first story. Ghana is yet to make progress with the G20 Common Framework debt treatment with its bilateral creditors. Well, that's according to the World Bank April 2023 Africa Pulse report. Now, this is contrary to what some government sources have said, that it has reached an agreement with its bilateral creditors, particularly the Paris Club, to pave the way for an International Monetary Fund program. Now, there is more for you in this report.
Ghana requested a common framework debt treatment in early 2023. In conjunction with the common framework engagement, the country conducted a voluntary domestic debt exchange program. It then followed up with an external debt exchange. But the World Bank said so far, only the restructuring in Chad has been completed. The World Bank further said the high liquidity and solvency may push more sub-Saharan African countries into an unsustainable situation that requires a comprehensive restructuring of their obligations. It therefore urged African countries, including Ghana, to increasingly rely on their own policy reforms and domestic space for action in 3 areas. These are restoring macroeconomic stability, raising interest rates, and avoiding policy conflicts, thus reduce the effectiveness of monetary transmission.
All right, so we shall certainly bring you more updates as we have our resource person on to speak to the issues raised by the World Bank. But moving on to some other stories, the listing of a 50 billion cedis bond raised by Bayport Savings and Loans onto the Ghana Stock Exchange is a signal that confidence is coming back to the market. This is the assertion from the Managing Director of the Ghana Stock Exchange, Abnamwa. According to her, confidence has been on the low due to the recently ended domestic debt exchange program. There's more in this report.
The capital market has been inactive for some time due to current challenges in the economy and government's quest to restructure domestic debt. Despite the challenges, Bayport Savings and Loans has been able to raise the amount of 50 million cedis through bonds from investors. According to the Managing Director of the Ghana Stock Exchange, Abnamwa, listing the funds on the Ghana fixed income market is a declaration that the best is opening up for diversity and confidence is coming back.
We are declaring today that the market is open, that companies should talk to their advisors, put together their plans, go and talk to investors, and investors are willing to listen to well-run companies with plans to grow. So they give them money to execute what they are looking for. So for us at the Ghana Stock Exchange, we are optimistic that companies will take advantage of this opportunity and support investors that are looking for diversified products to invest in.
Does this mean that confidence is coming back onto the market?
We believe so. The Bayport offer was oversubscribed by about 37%. The diversity of investors that showed interest shows us that confidence is coming to the market.
Bayport is expected to use the funds for expansion work and also extend credit to support customers. Its chief executive, Akwesi Abuaji, is optimistic that the company will continue to give a good return to investors.
It actually is the starting point for us being able to raise more capital, and that's the first one. I think secondly, the marketplace is one that you need if you're looking to grow your business. The other thing about the market is the pricing you get out of the debt and capital market is one that's really competitive, that allows you to grow your business sustainably. So us being able to raise this 50 million means that we can go back and do the business that we're known for, which is financial inclusion through giving loans to government sector workers. And then we'll be able to come back and raise some more to do more business and help develop the debt and capital markets.
This is the first major listing on the Ghana Stock Exchange for the year 2023.
Meanwhile, the co-advisor of the transaction, Absa Bank, believes that this is the best time for investors to make a choice on the kind of portfolio to invest in. Head of Investment Banking at Absa Bank, Kizito Sedo, told Joy Business that more efforts will be needed by all players to make the market attractive again.
Our strength came from consistently engaging with investors to understand what their needs were. And you need to understand that their needs were evolving because of the market conditions. So we needed to find a structure of the bond that made sense, the price point that made sense, and then also touching base with our issuer, that's our client, Bayport, to also understand their risk versus return construct. Once we understood those two, we had to then push to make the transaction happen. But I would say that for us as Absa, we are proud to be associated with the transaction because it has marked the reopening of the bond market after nil activity for about 12 months. And I think it's an encouragement not only to the clients, but to the broader market that we can't do deals in these environments. Transactions can still come to market. And so it's more of a challenge we are putting out there to issuers. Once you have your corporate governance in a good place, you are very clear in your mind in terms of what you need the funding for. Advisors like Absa can help you come to market.
Apart from Bayport, I mean, generally, how is it going for you guys? Because looking at how the market has been, yes, you were able to be successful with Bayport, but how is it?
Our projection is, if you look at the market at the moment, we have a government that just went through a domestic debt exchange. So we all admit that investor confidence is very low. So it's not just a question of what is Absa doing, but what are we doing with the others? It's a time that we all need to come in and pull together. Regulators, advisors, investors, and issuers. Because Ghana is our home. The offshore investors can cash out and leave. But what about us? What about our children? What about tomorrow? So for us as Absa, it's not just transactions. We think about the environment we work in. So ESG is very key to us. And so to your question, what are we doing? We are collaborating with the likes of Stanbic and the others, as you have seen. We are speaking to investors. We are talking to issuers. And we are trying to answer the question, how do we bring value back into this country? It's our hope that all this work would translate into bringing all of us back to this stage to ring the bell for another bond transaction.
All right, so we've got to expand the discussion further, and joining us on the phone is the head of research at DataBank, basically on the performance of the Ghana Stock Exchange. Now, grateful Alex Wine, you could join me on Business Live. I would first want to pick your thoughts on Bayport's, 50 million cedis bond raised on the local bears.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think just as the previous speaker said, I think it's a welcome news. I mean, it tells you that gradually the terrain is very rough at this moment, but gradually we are making some progress. We are seeing some level of confidence in the market, and this hopefully is going to pave the way for similar transactions to come into the market and raise the much money or the much needed capital that they need to finance their businesses. So I think it's a good news for the market to the extent that, they actually receive more bids than, what they initially intended to raise. So that is a very welcome news, and we welcome that, and I believe that it's not going to end there. We may see a few more successful corporate issuances on the market, and gradually I believe that the market will get to the level that we expect it to be.
Alex, how would you describe the performance of the market compared to what we witnessed last year, for instance?
Oh, yeah. I think on the stock market, I think at best one can say that the performance has been mixed so far this year. Even though if you look at the broad market index, which is the GSE Composite Index, it has returned about 12.3%, which looks great. But of course, if you look at it closely, you see that there are some underlying weaknesses in the market, especially coming from the banking sector. Following the debt exchange, sentiment around the financial sector in general has been very weak, and that is weighing heavily on the stock market. So, yes, the market has done more than 12% this year, but the financial sector continues to remain an overhang, or it remains an overhang on the market. And if you look at it from that angle too, from the financial sector angle, it tells the story even better, because while the non-financial stocks, in particular, some very few stocks that are doing well, including MTN, Total, and Bob, these are stocks that over the years have proven to pay consistent dividends. So investors are looking to invest in vehicles or stocks that can actually bring them some cash flow whilst they monitor the current development in the bond market. So these stocks have performed very well. And MTN in particular has returned about 60% after the end of March. Total has done about 60%, MTN has done about 39%, and Bob has done about 33%. So this stock has been the main driver of the 12% that we are seeing from the GSE Composite Index. In a stark contrast, the financial stock index has lost nearly 12%. So that really tells the story of the financial sector. And all the domestic banks, none of them has actually seen positive gain. They mostly either flat or negative so far. So yes, on the surface, the market has done 12%, but if you look at it closely, the financial sector outlook or the weak financial sector outlook remain an overhang on the market.
Interesting. Going forward, how do you foresee the stock market shaping up, especially when we do know that the domestic debt exchange program has come to a close?
Yes, we are seeing some stability. I think that we are all waiting for a confirmation from the IMF board, in terms of the approval of the program, the IMF program. So I think that will also bring some relief to the market. In terms of stocks, I think, things haven't changed much, even if you take away the debt exchange from the equation. The financial sector has been struggling since the recapitalization in 2017, 2018. Banks haven't really recovered from that, and then we had COVID, and then we had debt restructuring. So we expect the outlook of the banking sector to remain weak, at least in the short to medium term. On the non-financial sector, we've seen some positive spots, some good spots. I mean, you look about the telco sector. The telco sector, you talk about the oil marketing sector, which largely has been quite stable in view of, or relatively stable in view of the volatility, the macroeconomic volatility. They have proven to to be better in terms of stability than other sectors because it's the only sector on the market that can, to some extent, pass on costs to consumers, quickly, relative to other companies. So we expect those companies to sort of perform relatively better this year, and mostly we expect Total to lead that growth. MTN, of course, is likely to continue its growth trajectory. So, and we also seen Bob is also cashing in on high commodity prices, on the global market. So these are the three stocks that possibly has been the leading light, and we don't expect the story to change going into the next quarter.
Certainly, we shall keep an eye on that and keep our audience updated. Grateful Alex Boyne could speak to me. He's a research lead at Data Bank Research, helping us appreciate the development on the Ghana Stock Exchange. Now, let's stay a while longer in the financial space, and of course, to our very first story, where we do know that the World Bank is reporting that Ghana has not made any progress in relation to, its creditors by way of, they come into the table in terms of the debt structuring. Now, joining me via Zoom is a senior finance lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, Dr. Seriam Kawo, for his take on this development. Grateful, Mr. Kawo, you could join me on Business Live. This is surprising because we do know government is on record to have stated that there's been some significant progress, and now the World Bank is saying contrary. What's happening?
Yeah, and so this should not come as a surprise to everyone. When we actually engagement, the communications from government has not been forthright in the sense that we are reaching the agreement with the external creditors. So the Parish Club and then the China as a country, we have not been able to reach a concrete agreement with them. And hence that is going to delay the bailouts that we want to get from the IMF. And this is because you see that the managers of the economy, the finance ministry has not been forthright in coming out with information. There has been delays. And so when the president said that by the end of March, we are going to reach the agreement, the board level agreement.
Saram, are you on?
That needs to be done. Yes, I am on. Can you hear me?
Yes, we lost you briefly. Kindly.
Oh, okay. So we're saying that when the president made the announcement that we're going to reach the board level agreement with IMF by end of March, there were questions that we raised on it. And these questions are legitimate now. So when the World Bank is saying that it is not possible for government to reach this level, I am not surprised at all.
It baffles me that issues about credibility, and of course, clarity, as you rightly mentioned in your submission, is key. Why do you think it's difficult for government to come out with, right communication on this development?
Yeah, the government has made it a key issue that when it comes to some of these things, they should hold the issues to themselves. They should hold it to their chest. And so you realize that one of the key issues before they reach the board level agreement for the approval of the loan is the passage of the domestic revenue bills. And that was quite recently passed by Parliament. And if this were communicated to Ghanaians and it was communicated to the minority in Parliament, this would have been done long time when they were approving the budget, and then we wouldn't have problems. And if you want to take the citizens by surprise and spring surprise on them, these are some of the delays that we are going to face. And Ghana as a country is going to pay dearly for some of these things. Credibility is very key. And so when the president came out to say that, yes, we will reach the IMF board level agreement and the loan will be in by end of March, we said that his credibility is on the line. And for that matter, if the president comes out to tell us anything as Ghanaians again, we might not be very pleased with him because whatever he said is not been true.
What signal do you think this would send to investors, offshore investors basically, and of course domestically? But what sort of signal do you think this will send to them?
You see, in the investment market, information plays a key role. So investors will now be very skeptical in investing in our country. They are going to look at it from the viewpoint that we need information to invest. And the information, the source of the information has not been credible. And for that matter, it becomes very difficult for them to invest in their country. And looking at the very situation that we are talking about debt restructuring, where haircuts and the rest will come in. And so if you borrow money from the people and you are not coming out with credible information, it becomes very worrying. And our managers of the economy should look at that. Otherwise, in the future, for us to go to the international financial market to raise bonds, it's going to be very difficult for us to raise.
Thank you very much, Seram Kawo, for your time here on Business Live, sharing your perspective with us on this latest matter. We shall certainly keep our audience updated in our subsequent bulletins on any development, especially from the side of government in relation to this topic. A reminder, you're still watching Business Live with me, Pious Kojo Backah. There will be more right after this break. Hello, welcome back. The Bank of Ghana has announced that charges that are not disclosed to a borrower in a loan agreement should be considered null and void. Describing borrowers who may suffer such an ordeal as victims, the Bank of Ghana also directed commercial banks and lenders to refund such monies to the borrowers. According to the central bank, it is embarking on a campaign to promote transparency in loan disbursement, as well as empower borrowers to stop shop around for better rates and loan conditions. We hit the streets of for some reactions, and here's what we got.
Bank of Ghana is on course because I am a victim of that situation, and sometimes some of the bankers and financial institutions will tell you that the loan is granted on commitment, no commitment fee, but you realize that your loan deductions become so huge that you divide it by the total duration and realize that you are not making, you can't tell exactly where the remaining monies are coming from. And so if Bank of Ghana has brought out the challenge that has given a directive that they should pay the money to the customers, I think it's on course. They need to be sanctioned. That is fee-free, because if loans that we take is a contract. So if we are entering into contract, you have to make every information available to me to decide whether I want to do that. So if you hide some information away from me, that is a breach of contract, and so you have to pay for that. And so I don't think there is anything wrong if Bank of Ghana decide to sanction those institutions, aside asking them to refund the monies to the customers.
If only they are not aware of it, and it has affected the customers. And the authoritative body, Bank of Ghana, has examined it and gone through it and found that it is very needful for customers of the various institutions or banks to have their money back, then I support it. You understand it? Because they are the authoritative body and they have brought this nice suggestion. So let the money be refunded so that customers will be happy and take care of their family so that Ghana will do well. Rules and sanctions will also help so that next time they will not do that. There should be communication first to the clients. Sometimes they even send text messages, they can send emails, or they can even make announcements in the media for their various customers. Communication is very, very good. You understand me? Yes, it's democracy. So I support any sanction so that next time it won't be repeated.
The banks, most banks that do that to the people that take the loans from them, yes, I think they should be punished because most people, they are not aware of the kind of money they are supposed to pay. And then at the end of the day or the time, they just lost everything, you see. They end up paying a lot of money.
As for me, I think they should be made aware of the charges. And then secondly, like what Bank of Ghana is saying, for me, it is the truth. Yes, it is the truth. I think when they refund the money to them, it will be of help for them, so that going forward, when the Bank of Ghana brings such of this, or let's say rules and regulations governing all these things, next time they will be very careful whenever they are dealing with us, with customers. They will tell them the rules and regulations governing it before they will give a loan to any of the customers that they have.
And that's all we have for you in this package. I am Pious Kojo Backah. Do enjoy the rest of our programs. For more business stories, you can get them on myjoyonline.com/business. We'll leave you with some international.